Gosh, Darlene, it sure is amazing how much we have in common.
I know, Larry. We both love three-car pileups. We both were built in Buffalo.
And we both know wearing safety belts helps save thousands of lives.
Yeah, this is fascinating.
Don't mind Vince. He's getting over a bad breakup.
I know. Janet's picking up the pieces, too. They're in here.
I wish they understood it's all worth it to get people to buckle up.
Hey, lacerated lovebirds, I sense a major crush.
You could learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle your safety belt.
Talk about head over heels.
Welcome to this edition of Lancaster Perspective. I'm Mike Miller. Thanks for tuning in today. Our special guest, the mayor of the city of Lancaster, Dave Smith, the Service Safety Director, Brian Kuhn. Thank you, gentlemen.
Hi there. How are you today?
Wonderful.
You're always wonderful.
I'm doing well. Yeah. I'm living the dream. I know that it's that time of year, 4th of July. A lot of activities going on, and you guys are involved in the committee and 4th of July committee. Let's talk a little bit about the committee, dates, times, things like that to start with.
Okay. Well, just a little background. I joined the 4th of July committee back in 1993, so it's not a mayor thing. Although I enjoy both being the mayor and being on the 4th of July committee. And here recently, whenever the mayor wanted or had a different change of service safety directors, one of the job duties for the service safety director is to be on the 4th of July committee. Just hazard pay for but
when you missed a meeting, didn't you?
Yeah, it's funny, Mike. On my first day on the job, and we were walking out of the city hall together, the mayor looked at me and he said, "Oh, by the way, you're on the 4th of July committee."
But when you think about it, we have a lot of security issues with the pyrotechnics on the fairgrounds, up on the mountain. The fire department has its safety inspectors that make sure everything's safe and that there's fencing. There's a lot of coordination between fire services and police services and the sheriff's office, and it's very good to have the service safety director specifically involved in those activities. But we do plan. It's a nice event that works out. There's about 10 or 12 of us who are on the management team, so to speak, and as we do that, we elicit and get volunteer groups to help us with all the other aspects, or we pay the professionals. We have kiddie rides and amusement rides that come in, and obviously they pay us a commission for being there. And then we have the fair food. Not sure why the word fair food is correct. It's not 4th of July food, but it's fair food. But many of those nice tasty treats that would be at the county fair will also be at the 4th of July. And then they pay us a commission also, and that helps us defray the cost of all the expenses of the fireworks and the parade and insurance and things like that. And then we have arts and crafts. For the last couple of years, we've had a number of vendors come in there that want to show their handiwork. And so we have a number of ways to kind of defray the costs. We have great individual and business owners who actually contribute to our 4th of July. And then we charge for parking as well. So all those revenue sources kind of make it work out that every year that we've done real well. You might remember the derecho windstorm we had a couple years ago. That really cut into the activities. It was like 4 days before the 4th, 5 days before the 4th. And limited space, AEP, it was on the fairgrounds using that as their site for distribution of manpower and equipment. And then the year after that, this is 15, 14, 13, 12. The next year, we had a lot of rain just when the fireworks were ready to go off in the hours or two before, and a lot of people didn't show up, and so some of our ride concession, parking concession, food concession, things like that didn't generate money. So we had 2 bad years in a row, but we put out a letter 2 years ago for last year, 2014, and told everybody who had contributed in the past, the business owners and the individuals of our stories with the bad weather, and they were really great. They all came up with, almost everybody gave a nice little increase on their monies. So this year we sent out a letter thanking them for that. We thanked them last year as well, but reminded them that they had bumped up. And they didn't need to do that. We're back into our normal little cash reserve that we should have. But you know, most of them stayed with the higher amounts, and we had, I'd say dozens that actually increased again because they felt that it was such a good fireworks display show for our community. It seems to be well attended. We'll get 30,000, 40,000 people on the fairgrounds or within about a block perimeter of that, because a lot of people love to be at their homes, their front porches, the backyards, and watch the fireworks from the comfort of their own home. But if you go up and down Memorial Drive, almost every parking lot from Miller Park all the way up to River Valley Mall, all those parking lots, because the stores are closed, are just jam-packed with people, and some of them are tailgating and having a great time.
Sure, absolutely.
And they can see a great fireworks show from about 4 blocks away. It's a wonderful event.
How much in advance do you have to do this? I mean, do you just at the end of last year say, okay, who's coming back? Or
And that's exactly it. We'll have a January or a February meeting. We always have a July or August wrap-up meeting. What went well, what didn't, how can we change things, what do we want to do more on for the next time. So we'll have that wrap up in July, August. But then we'll meet in January, February and see who shows up. And if everybody shows up, we just repeat what we did last year with the notes of how to make it better. Every once in a while we'll have more volunteers coming in, and we'll see where that they want to participate and help. Every once in a while we might lose somebody. They moved out of town, took a different job or whatever, and then we just have to fill the gaps. But like I was saying, for the most part, we kind of manage the operation, and then we delegate to different responsibilities. We have a lot of different booster groups that help us with the different aspects on the day itself.
talk a little bit about those boosters, because I know you have quite a list of people that
Oh, we do. And it works out very nicely. First, we have the Friends of the Park. Lancaster Parks and Recreation has a booster group of their own, and they go out and put the parking line stripes on Rising Park and the fairgrounds so you know where to park. And it's a very nice system. We have the Fairfield Christian Academy boosters. I think both athletic and academic boosters come in, and they run the parking lot for us on the fairgrounds. The parks personnel takes care of parking over at Rising Park, and it's free over at Rising Park. And we charge $10 for vehicles over in the fairgrounds, and we can pack in 2,000, 2,500 cars.
Wow.
And so if you do the math,
Yeah.
we make a lot of money, and that helps pay for the fireworks on the day of. And we get lots of people that want to be on the grounds for the convenience. A lot of people walk in, they park at different places. They walk 4 or 5 blocks, maybe from their homes or from a church parking lot, in the area. But then the Fairfield Christian people, what a great group. They have a party day themselves. They bring in their own grills and water and refreshments, and they do a wonderful job for us. But that's what's so handy is the 12 of us who are trying to manage things, we don't have to be in the parking lot.
Right.
We got somebody else doing that. We had somebody else do the striping a couple days before. The day of the parade itself, we have the Lancaster High School swim boosters. And they bring in about 15 or 20 volunteers, and they help make sure that all the entries in the parade are in the right row, in the right position in that row, and that they leave in an orderly manner.
So let's talk a bit about the parade. It starts again, what time?
10 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
And a lot of people start showing up to be in the parade to get in their unit by 8:30.
How many units they have?
About 200.
Oh.
It's a large parade. I think the holiday parade, or Christmas parade in late November, we're comparable, but we're warmer. But the nice thing about the Christmas parade is that they have more bands because they're in school session. We have some trouble, obviously, with summertime. Kids being on vacation, out of town, in between. The seniors have graduated, the freshmen and the sophomores or the newbies who are taking up band haven't had a lot of practice time yet. So the county bands, kind of hard to get them. Occasionally we do. It just depends on their schedule for that year. But the Lancaster Band of Gold will be there. We're always happy to have them. Last year they had a great honor, Band of Gold, to be in Washington, D.C. For a big parade out there on the 4th of July. So that precluded them from being in Lancaster.
Now, is there a website people can go to find all this information about the parade? Or?
There is. We have a constant website. It's up 12 months out of the year. And it's kind of easy. If you just put in either Lancaster, Ohio, 4th of July, or 4th of July, Lancaster, Ohio, it'll come up. And officially, I think it is www.4thofjulylancasterohio.com. But if you put in 4th of July, Lancaster, you'll find us.
Talk a bit more about the volunteers and the boosters and help out.
Yeah, and then throughout the day, from the Fairfield Career Center up on Coon Path Road, they have a criminal justice program and we get a lot of their cadets or students, and they help us again with perimeter security, just showing a presence. They're in uniform. I think it's a summer uniform, so it's lightweight, and I think it says security on the front and the back. And they help us with the parking as well to make sure that as the cars weave in and around the fairgrounds, that the pedestrians are on one area and the cars are moving in the other. And that's very important later in the evening. From about 6 o'clock on, a lot of cars show up. They kind of meander in nice and slowly at a good pace until about 6, and then they want to come for dinner and they want to come for the fair food and the rides, and then the fireworks at 10 o'clock at night. So we have those. Let's see, who else is on the list? The Amateur Radio Club, Lancaster Fairfield County Amateur Radio Club, great support. They help us with the parade set up in the morning. They're actually on the parade route, making sure that the traffic areas, the streets have been blocked off and they're secured. Sometimes cars get a little impatient either before or during the parade, and they want to get to the other side, and they make sure that the intersections are safe. And then they come back, the radio volunteers come back, and they help us with parking in the afternoon with their radio communication, so that anywhere on the fairgrounds we can talk to each other. So that's great as well.
That's the. I mean, we talk about weather and all those things. Rain or shine, they go on, or who makes the call, or is that the service safety director? It is.
The good news comes from the mayor's office.
Okay.
Okay, folks, I'm just kidding.
And speaking of that, last year, if everybody remembers, was like probably a perfect day. I think it was probably like 75 or 72 and really mild, low humidity. So as the mayor was talking about the parking earlier, that crew did a great job, because I think we actually had to cut parking off early because it was full, and people were parked up all the way up on the hill back by Wilson or Marks Drive. I mean, there were cars where I'd never seen cars before, but they did a great job doing that. And I think after maybe like 6 o'clock or so, people didn't leave, so you're not going to find a spot here or there, but if there were, they did a nice job to backfill it. But very, very full. And one thing that I noticed, people would come in and say, well, we're handicapped, we need access to closer parking. You gotta get there early to do that, because I think there were some handicap type parking spaces, but those fill up really fast. So just a warning this year, if you're interested, it's a nice day, you really need to get there early if you want to park in like a handicap accessible place.
Do you do any demographics of out of county residents come in, or?
We don't. A handful of years ago, we had a fella that was helping us with some of the musical, and because he's a promoter,
right.
a musical promoter, he could do crowd estimates, and he was looking and telling us that you got people here from all over the place, and he had never been, and he was looking at the crowd, and that's why we think it's 30 or 40,000 people on the fairgrounds or within a very close perimeter of that. And then we think another equal amount are out there on the highways or on the shopping malls and or their homes. They could be almost probably 5 miles away and still see the fireworks. But we know that we've talked to the radio stations in some of the other neighboring counties, and they know that there's people coming to Lancaster because we have such a great fireworks show. And Jerry and Ken Sprague from Hamburg Fireworks and their crew, man, they put on a great show for us.
People ask, how do you decide what fireworks go up? I mean, do they have a display you look at, or is there pictures, or this rocket does this? Who decides that?
Remember what I said before? We delegate. And
so, Brian, who decides it?
I believe probably Ken Sprague, the group there, and we had a meeting Thursday, like a kind of a safety meeting, kind of final meeting, like, okay, everybody's where they're going to need to be. And Ken Sprague was saying he was at some convention or conference, Mayor, that our fireworks were like one of the top around the state.
Those pyrotechnic companies always take pictures or videos of their displays. and as such, they can brag about it.
Sure.
But most everybody, and I love the golden palms. I don't know if you know which ones they are. It's kind of goes up,
Sure.
and then
Yeah.
it goes up. And I like it when they do 3 at a time. But that's my favorite. But I like the big silver boomers too, but that make your chest echo. But there's a couple little stories on the fireworks. Obviously, Hamburg knows what they're doing. We can offer some suggestions.
Sure.
But years ago, and I'll say 15 years ago, things were a little bit lean on our side, and we didn't have a good method to ask donors for money. We were charging $3 for parking, and it's not that we're trying to gouge anybody. We went from $3 to $5 to $7 to $10. We were trying to figure out how to have the best fireworks display.
Right.
And Ron Burris is on the committee, and I think it was 3-4 years ago, somebody complained about the high price. And Ron said, I'll hold on to your $10 bill. If it's, and the guy had never been here, and he had a vehicle full of family people, wife and kids. He said, if it's not worth the $10, you find me, I'll get your $10 back to you. The guy found Ron afterwards, gave him another $10.
Really?
Yeah. So we're just trying to, we don't have any administrative costs. We just try to put everything into the fireworks and the insurance and the security, paying for the fire and the police and things like that. The other story is, Ron, again, not picking on him, but Jerry and Ken were saying, well, we got you a 28-minute show. And, you know, sometimes you call it 30 anyway, but it's a 28-minute show. 15 minutes might be a little bit short for fireworks, especially if you're spending hours there getting in anticipation. 20-minute show, I think Red, White, and Boom's only a 20-minute show. So we go to 28 minutes. And they were saying, we got it packed. We got stuff in there. There's hardly any dead space. You know, there's some transition time from fireworks on in the fairgrounds up on top of Mount Pleasant and back. And then there's some staging that they have to do. There's some ground displays, but there's not any 10 seconds worth of space. We're packed. And Ron said, well, I know how to fix that. And Ron suggested that we have a finale at the beginning. Well, it's a mini finale. And what we were hearing from people when we first started doing that, we have a huge finale at the end. It's about 2,000 or more things that go up in the air. And it's all computer controlled, and it's amazing how it works. So Ron's suggestion was to have a mini finale. Well, our mini finale at the beginning, our mini finale is probably as big as some communities' true finale. And if the people that haven't been to Lancaster before to see the fireworks, they think that somebody pushed the wrong button and started at the end because these computers just, you know, electronically charge everything. So, but it's a great show, and I know that everybody who's ever been there, it's a great show, and what a great venue the fairgrounds is.
Absolutely.
You're sitting underneath the stars. You're sitting underneath. You can see the mountain off on the side, and you're kind of leaning like this watching the fireworks, where a lot of places you have to look to the horizon to see the fireworks. But almost everybody on the fairgrounds is looking up at the sky, and it's just a great setting. And Dave Benson and Jim Marchino at the fairgrounds do a wonderful job helping set up the fairgrounds for us. That's another one of the expenses that we have. But, you know, we go in, they have it all set up, all the barrels in the right place. They take care of the trash. They pay for all the utilities. We pay them, obviously, but they take care of all of that. We just walk away that night.
It's that people talk about the cost of doing this. I mean, it's you know, it's a great event, and people say, oh, you know, they do it. It's not, when you think about it, it's not a lot of money. But still, you have to have support from local people to help out.
We do, and we were talking the other day, as we have these other groups that do the work, they still communicate to each other. As Brian was talking about the safety meeting, we have the Parks Department talking to the Fire Department about this, that, and the other. We have the Street Department talking to the Police Department about road closures and the parade route. And so we know that all we have to say is we're doing it again this year to all of these different entities, and they just do what they need to do. A number of years ago, we were trying to figure out, we got so many cars inside of the fairgrounds and people in the neighborhoods trying to get home, how do we make that better? And we had one of the probation officers from Fairfield County, I think it was Common Police Court, no, he was a bailiff, and he said, I have an idea. And he drew up a plan of no right turns, no left turns, straight ahead for 3 or 4 blocks, gave it to the Lancaster Police Department and the Sheriff's Office, and they said, that will work. So all the exits in and around the fairgrounds, you can only go in one direction so that you don't fight each other.
Right.
And then if you're releasing from Fair and Broad Street, you have to go straight south on Broad Street, because guess what? High Street and Columbus Street are already congested from the other gates letting out. And every once in a while we hit another aha moment of how to do it better and how to, by an hour after the fireworks is over, fairgrounds is empty. And now an hour sounds like a long time, but have you ever seen a gumball? And if you wanted that very last gumball, you know, it's hard to get that last gumball out until everybody else gets out of the way. But there's always one last car coming out of the fairgrounds, because even if you go right, left at the gate, you know, this guy goes right, that's good. You actually have about 10 fingers trying to get into that exit. And it's usually peaceful, and everybody takes a turn. And if you can see the gate, you're going to get out, and everybody behind you will eventually get out. We're just so pleased it works so well.
Do you have other counties that come and look, or other cities that, oh, let's go down to Lancaster and see what they're doing?
We've heard of that occasionally, but I think it's, and I've talked to my mayor counterparts in other places, and again, I happened to be on the 4th of July committee from about 20 years ago and just happened to be elected mayor. Most of the time, those other communities, it's their parks and recreation departments that truly run the 4th of July, and they do it like we do it as a parallel. They still look for donors and sponsors, and they probably have fair food and rides. But we have a fairgrounds that is near downtown. A lot of communities, their fairgrounds is somewhere else. And so the fairgrounds is in a neighborhood, and people can walk 4 or 5 blocks pretty easily. A lot of communities still just don't have that. So when you look at comparabilities, boy, are we lucky.
Sure, absolutely.
It works out really nicely.
I know we talk about the parade and fireworks at night, but in between that time, as Brian said earlier, 10 to 10, all sorts of events going on. All sorts of events going on.
And we've evolved to a number of things. We used to try to bring in a high-profile band and put them on the racetrack. But what we're finding out is that you can't really get too many people there too early. Late afternoon, early dinner time, that's when people start showing up, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Well, we have bands. We have gospel singers. We have some local bands that play from 1 to 4, 4 to 6, and then 8 to 10. And then we have a hot dog eating contest at 5. So we have bands, and instead of being out on the track, we're in where all the people are, where the foods and the fair food and the rides are. But when we were having the big bands at the grandstand, we realized early on, as soon as the fireworks are getting close, everybody abandons the grandstand because there's a roof.
Sure, yeah.
You can't see it. So you got 2,000, 3,000 people wanting to hear the band or the music under cover, away from the sun, but at the same time they want to be on their blankets for the fireworks. So we didn't push that rock uphill very long before we realized, let's have the band out where the people are, the music out where the people are, and we don't need high-profile bands to get people to come to the fairgrounds.
Right.
We have entertainment. We have a lot of different arts and crafts and things like that. A lot of things for people to do. And a lot of them just they can bring their own picnic dinner. We don't care. That's fine. A lot of blankets out there. We tried to count the blankets one time, or the tarps. Didn't have enough fingers and toes. It just way too many. Just way too many. And people bring their pickup trucks, and they put their lawn chairs in their pickup trucks. Some of them actually sit in the big parking lot at the fairgrounds and just pull out their chairs out of the trunk and just sit right there, which is totally safe once all the cars get parked. The driving lanes and the safety lanes that have to be kept open, once the fireworks start, or a little bit before, or those parking areas get filled, it's terrific. And the fairgrounds is so huge that we can park those 2,500 cars, get 30 or 40,000 people on the grounds, and there's still tons of room over by the corral on the, if you will, the northwest side of the fairgrounds. There's a natural bowl there, and people just get on that siding, and then around the racetrack, it's just a natural pavilion for lots and lots of people. And I bet that most of those tarps and blankets are used to being in the same spot every year.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
They're just used to it.
If people want to volunteer to help out, you talk about the volunteers that help out. Contact you, contact Brian if they, gee, I'd like to do that next year.
Yeah, I think either calling the Service Safety Director's number or the Mayor's office, we'd love to have more people. And what we find is that more people we have, it used to be 6 or 8 people, and we can manage that, but it's a little bit more fun when you have, we all have buddies that we drag into who volunteer to be in that. just like the service safety director. But
Just another meeting.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed the 4th of July. So when I get to spend all day doing 4th of July, and maybe even a little bit the day before and the day before, because we have to set up the fairgrounds with signage so people know where to park, where not to park on the day of, where to put a blanket, where not to put the blanket. Man, there are just some things that are just fun, and that's my fun day.
Yeah.
I'm a little tired at the end of the day, but it's just a fun day. And I think between patriotism and the veterans organizations, the fireworks, red, white, and blue everything, grilled hot dogs and hamburgers and ice cream, and it's just a day.
And just to add to that, to the mayor does so much for this that people don't realize. He's the one who spearheads the meetings, and there's probably like 6 mayor before they start, like in January or February. And yeah, we've got the 10 or 11 people there, but he's the person that's there every time, and guides everybody. In addition to making sure all the letters get sent out for contributions, and he's the guy that's there a few days before to put parking signs up and no parking signs up, and he does all this work.
Okay, enough about me.
No, but I'm just saying that in the day of, he'll be there from 6 in the morning till like 1 the next morning, and he does a lot for the community, and we should all appreciate that. He does a great job.
Well, you're still on the committee. You're not getting off the committee.
He's still
I
still
tried.
service safety director too.
One more time, website that people can go to. That's
I think it's 4th of July, LancasterOhio.com. But we also have a .org, so it really doesn't matter. But if you just put in 4th of July, Lancaster, Ohio, 4th of July, you'll find our website. Pretty nice, pretty easy. And we always have an opening. If for some reason you have a kid that wants to be in the parade, has a bicycle, or you're a group that has been thinking about being in the parade but hasn't gotten your form and registration in, we always have ample room. We call it row 8. If you're not registered but you want to be in the parade, we'll put you in. It's not Section 8, fellas.
fantastic. Fantastic.
But there's a place for you in the parade.
We do appreciate both of you coming in talking about the 4th of July activities, and I hope we have good weather. We'll pray for that. But
Ron Bruce is in charge of that, right?
Yeah, cloud control.
Crowd control.
Ron's in charge of a lot of things. Right now, the 10-day forecast looks good.
We do appreciate you guys coming in.
Thanks for having us, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Life's Perspective. I'm Mike Miller. And remember, until we meet again, let's make a difference.
In 1929 in Chicago, a gentleman by the name of Marion Wade, a former minor league baseball player, started the company. It was just a moth-proofing company then. In 1952, it expanded to carpet cleaning and pioneered what is now called outsourcing. And the Sidwells wanted a community that had a lot of churches, had a lot of soccer opportunities, their kids love soccer, and a good Parks and Rec department, so they chose Lancaster. And so in 1980, they moved the franchise here in Lancaster to 6th Avenue. But then in 2002, Todd George, current owner, purchased the franchise from them. And in 2004, he bought a building that's on Mulberry Street, and that's where the franchise is located currently. I'm Jay Johnson, General Manager of Service Master Clean by Todd George, where we guarantee if it's not done right the first time, we'll do it again.
Service Master Clean by Todd George, 740-687-1077. 740-687-1077.